21-year-old college dropout with only $400 in his bank account practiced wealth affirmations every morning and every night for about 3 months. Within 25 days of starting a business, he had $200,000 deposited into his personal bank account. By the end of the year, that business generated $850,000 in revenue, with about $250,000 in profit. And according to him, the turning point began long before the money appeared. It began in his mind. Before we begin, I want to make something very clear. This is not my story. This is a real success story that someone shared, and in this video, I'm simply the narrator bringing that story to you. I share stories like this because sometimes hearing about someone else's experience can open our minds to possibilities we never considered before. Whether you believe in manifestation or not, this story is fascinating. And what makes it even more interesting is that the person who experienced all of this didn't fully believe in the law at the beginning either. Welcome to Real Life Manifestations. On this channel, we explore real stories about how people change their lives by changing their consciousness. Stories that reveal how powerful the human mind can be when it is trained, focused, and directed toward a specific outcome. And today's story begins with someone who believed they were a complete failure. At 21 years old, this person had already dropped out of college twice. They had no career path, no valuable high-income skills, no clear sense of direction. And worst of all, they didn't even feel motivated to succeed. Every morning when they woke up, the first thoughts that appeared in their mind were the same negative patterns. I'm a failure. I dropped out of school. I have no plan. I don't have any valuable skills. When they looked at their past, there was nothing they could point to that suggested success. Their mind had become conditioned to expect failure. And unfortunately, their environment reinforced those feelings. They were living with a stepfather who struggled with narcissism, obsessive behavior, and serious anger issues. Home did not feel peaceful. It felt tense and unstable. So this person felt trapped in multiple ways. Trapped in their circumstances, trapped in their environment, and most importantly, trapped in their own mind. They didn't know who to ask for help. They didn't have money. They didn't have guidance. They didn't have solutions. Their physical health also started deteriorating due to the intense stress and depression. Some days the depression became so overwhelming that they would lie in the fetal position for hours because their nervous system felt completely paralyzed. Life felt unbearable. At that point, they realized something important. Even if they managed to finish a college degree, it probably wouldn't solve their real problem, because the real problem was their mental state. But there was one small light during that dark period of their life: meditation. For years, they had been practicing meditation and studying spiritual ideas out of curiosity. But up until that point, they had never tried using the mind intentionally to change their external circumstances. Then one day, they came across a small book written by a spiritual teacher. The teachings explained a very powerful idea. If you want to change your life, you must first change your consciousness. According to the teachings, humanity struggles largely because people are unaware of the creative power of the mind. This ignorance causes people to unknowingly create limitation, poverty, illness, and struggle. The book described the mind in a fascinating way. It called the mind the magic factory. Inside this factory, thoughts and feelings are constantly being produced. And over time, those thoughts condense into physical circumstances. In other words, what we often call luck or miracles may actually be the natural result of powerful thought patterns becoming reality. That idea captured their attention. Because if it was true, then maybe their life wasn't permanently broken. Maybe their thoughts had been creating their circumstances all along. The book offered a simple set of instructions. Every morning, immediately after waking up, and every night just before falling asleep. Repeat affirmations focused on success and prosperity. Those 2 moments are extremely important because the mind is still in a hypnotic state between sleep and wakefulness. Ideas planted during those moments sink directly into the subconscious mind. So they decided to try the practice. They had nothing to lose except their failure mindset. Every morning, after waking up, they read the affirmations. And every night before falling asleep, they repeated them again. The instructions suggested sitting upright while practicing the affirmations. But they didn't follow that perfectly. Instead, they simply lay on their bed in the same position they normally slept in. They would read the affirmations out loud first. Then they would whisper them softly. And eventually, they would repeat them silently in their mind until they drifted into sleep. At the beginning, they were not very good at the practice. They were lazy. They were skeptical. They didn't really believe anything would change. But they kept going. And slowly, something interesting began happening. Their concentration improved. Their attention became stronger. Their belief began growing little by little. Then they reread the book and noticed an instruction that changed their practice. The teacher suggested focusing attention on the point between the eyebrows while affirming. This point is considered the center of concentration and willpower. When they started focusing there calmly while repeating the affirmations, something surprising happened. Their mental power seemed to increase. Their concentration became deeper, and their feeling of faith began growing stronger. They realized something important. Using the mind effectively is a skill. Many people try affirmations for a short time, see no results, and conclude that thoughts have no power. But often the real problem is that their attention is weak and scattered. The mind, like the body, can be trained. Just like a muscle grows stronger through exercise, the mind becomes more powerful through disciplined focus. As they continued the affirmations every morning and night, a battle began inside their mind. On one side were the old beliefs: failure, poverty, hopelessness. On the other side were these new ideas they were planting every day: success, wealth, opportunity. Whenever doubts appeared, they simply increased their focus on the affirmations. Over time, the negative thoughts would fade, and something beautiful began happening emotionally. They started feeling genuine joy. For the first time in their life, they felt like they might actually win the battle against failure. Their attitude began changing, slowly at first, then more dramatically. They started thinking about starting their own business. They spent hours researching ideas online. They went to the library every day to study business models that could be started with very little money. Their daily routine completely changed. Instead of staying home in despair, they spent their days learning, researching, and experimenting. And even though they had not yet made any real money, they had developed a strong conviction that something would eventually work. They believed an opportunity would appear. Some unusual things also started happening. One day, a yoga student asked if they would come to her home and offer spiritual counseling. This had never happened before. And even though they offered to help for free, the student insisted on paying them. Then another interesting event occurred. Their mother received several Persian turquoise stones from a friend in Iran who worked in the turquoise mining business. Because of international sanctions, selling those stones directly in the United States was difficult. So the mother told them something simple: if you can find buyers, we can start a business. If not, you can keep the stones. Later, they discovered something incredible. Persian turquoise is considered the most valuable turquoise in the world. Some of the stones were worth hundreds of dollars each. There were 5 stones valued between $500 and $900, along with dozens of smaller stones that continued increasing in value. One of the affirmations they had been repeating said something fascinating. "All the wealth of this earth, all the riches of the universe belong to me." And suddenly, literal wealth from the earth had appeared in their life. Whether coincidence or manifestation, it felt symbolic. By this point, they had fallen in love with the practice. Every morning and every night they repeated the affirmations. During the day, they took actions that aligned with success. They experimented with different business ideas. They opened a Shopify store. They opened an Etsy store. At one point, they still only had $400 left in their bank account. But something inside them had changed completely. Their identity. They no longer felt like a loser trying to succeed. They felt like a winner learning how to win. And they had a powerful intuition about something. They only needed one winning product. Just one. Then one night during their affirmation practice, something profound happened. They entered a deep state of faith. For the first time, the idea of being wealthy felt completely natural. There was no resistance in their mind. They fell asleep in that state. That night, they had a vivid dream. In the dream, they were running a busy business operation. Employees everywhere. Customers constantly placing orders. They were overwhelmed with activity. But it felt exciting. When they woke up, the first thought in their mind was clear. "I'm going to make $200,000. They didn't consciously choose that number. It simply appeared. Their rational mind quickly questioned it. But the feeling remained strong. Within 1 week, everything changed. It was March of 2020. They were browsing Etsy and looking at popular search terms. One phrase suddenly caught their attention. Face masks. At first it seemed strange. Why were people suddenly searching for face masks? Then it clicked. COVID had just begun spreading. Demand for masks was about to explode. So they immediately asked their mother to start sewing face masks. That same day, they listed them on Etsy. The next morning, they woke up to their first sales. Then more. Then many more. Within the first week, the store generated $14,000 in revenue. Within 25 days, Etsy deposited $200,000 into their bank account. The same number that had appeared in their mind after that dream. By the end of the year, the business generated about $850,000 in revenue, with roughly $250,000 in profit after paying employees generously. They hired around 20 people. Thousands of customers left positive reviews. Articles about their face masks appeared across the internet. And people across the country were wearing products that began as a thought in someone's mind. It was surreal. Watching thousands of happy customers post photos wearing something they had created. Seeing positive reviews appear daily. Knowing that their thoughts had led to prosperity that was literally being shipped all over the country. It felt like a spiritual experience. But the story also includes an important lesson. After achieving that success, they stopped practicing the affirmations. Slowly, their mind drifted back into old conditioning. Depression eventually returned. Motivation faded. And that taught them something powerful. Your mental state must be maintained. Just like physical fitness, you don't go to the gym for 3 months and expect lifelong strength. You train continuously. The mind works the same way. Recently, they restarted the practice. This time, focusing on health affirmations to heal a back injury. And also continuing wealth affirmations to see where the creative process leads next. Because after experiencing something like that, it becomes impossible to ignore the creative power of the mind. And perhaps another incredible success story is already forming. And that's exactly why I share stories like this here on real-life manifestations. Because sometimes hearing someone else's journey can inspire us to experiment with our own consciousness. If you enjoy hearing powerful manifestation stories like this one, Make sure to subscribe to Real Life Manifestations for more real experiences and insights into the power of the mind. And remember, sometimes the biggest changes in life begin with something incredibly small. A thought, a belief, or an idea planted quietly in the moments before sleep. Thank you for watching Real Life Manifestations, and I'll see you in the next story.